On this episode of the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast, dream scenarios at number 20. Now that free agency is kind of wrapped up, what could those dream scenarios be? What could we get at number 20? Plus, those mid rounds, second, third, fourth, maybe even later. Where are there some steals for the Denver Broncos? All that and more. Let's round it up and hit the road next. Well, welcome in everybody to the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast, man. It's another exciting night of Denver Broncos football talk as we're head on into the off season, man. Seems like we kind of got our our training camp. My goodness, I'm getting ahead of myself. Not training camp. Seems like we got free agency a little bit in the rear view mirror, man. So we're going to look ahead to the NFL draft. My name is Keith Brugman, but I'm not alone, man. I don't even know where to start, man. I'm going to start below, right? The gentleman that's hanging out right below me on the screen, and that's Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick. He's joining us, from the road, man, from the road. Thank you so much, Kenny, for joining us this evening.
It's been a pleasure. I'm spending the week with my friend and co-host on K&K and his lovely wife, Paul and Luby. I'm here in his sports room. We got some Giants stuff behind me. I got a Giants wall here. We got New York Mets stuff here, but most importantly in front of me, guys, for those who don't know my friend Paul, he's got about 25 marathon medals. He ran so many marathons, and this summer he's going to be running his first triathlon. So let's applaud Paul and wish him the best of luck there. But I'm ready to get the ball rolling. I see the posse is hot. We got a fun show ahead of us, and let's go Broncos.
All right, man. Let's go Broncos. Let's figure out everything, man. And another way we can figure it out, we'll bring in, the three best brains I know about Broncos football. I'm going to put my name in there too, I guess. Or at least I'll go two, because I'm going to bring in Trevor, because I know he's fantastic with all of this. Welcome back to the show, Trevor.
Oh, appreciate it, Keith, and I'm glad to be here on a Tuesday, and excited to kind of get some Broncos talk out there and give all of our thoughts, a little bit of draft preparation. We'll see exactly, if the Broncos are indeed done with free agency. I still think they may have a move or two up their sleeve, but it's an exciting time as we're inching closer to April's NFL draft.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to get us started off with the posse. Paul's coming in here. He's not even mixing business, man. He's not even saying hello. He just wants to know which of the three free agents was your favorite. Kenny, I'll start with you. Of all the free agent signings that we had, which was your favorite?
My favorite is the safety Hufanga, because I've been calling him the poor man's Troy Polamalu, and I was a huge fan of Troy Polamalu when he played with Steelers, Hall of Famer. And if I'm calling him a poor man's Hufanga, how can I not love that pickup? But I love them all those the three free agents. I love them all, but I'll just go with the Hufanga as the poor man's. And I don't even want to call him a poor man's. Let's call him a working man's, middle class Polamalu. We won't call him a poor man's Polamalu. We want him to be a middle class Polamalu.
There you go. Trevor, what do you think about those free agent signings? Which one is your favorite?
Yeah, I like Hufanga too. I think I'm alongside there with Kenny. And with Hufanga, if he's proven he can stay healthy, he's able to be an all-pro safety. And I think that's something to watch. I think the Broncos have confidence in all these free agents that they brought in, because all of them have injury histories, let's be honest here. But if they all can stay on the field, these guys I think can all produce. For me, I'm going to go different, though. I'm going to go Dre Greenlaw. And I say that because not only what he can do on the field, Keith, when he's healthy, but also the contract the Broncos got him on. The details kind of got released earlier by Mike Kliss. So essentially, it's a 1-year deal, $11.5 million at signing with a $2 million injury guarantee for Greenlaw. And I know it's a 3-year deal, but essentially it's a 1-year deal. That's a steal for a guy like Dre Greenlaw, who was, again, there's rumors that the 49ers actually were pursuing him heavily to try to bring him back before he signed with the Broncos. So it's good that the Broncos got him on that contract, addressed the need. Now they don't have to be inside linebacker heavy, need-wise going into the draft.
I agree, man. And I agree so much. I'm right on board with you. I had written off Dre Greenlaw as even an option because word on the street was he was going to be a priority for the San Francisco 49ers. And when I started seeing all these other players start to leave the 49ers, I went, oh, well, they're locking up Dre Greenlaw then. That's not an option, man. That's the one piece they're holding on to. And then lo and behold, not only Dre Greenlaw, but Hufanga, but Dre Greenlaw, the athlete that he is, like I said, so instinctual. I think he's going to be an absolute, spark plug for this defense and the way that he approaches the game. It seems like we've been talking for a few years now. Who's the leader? Who's the real leader on the field when it comes to this defense? Is it a Patrick Surtain? Well, he's kind of a quiet leader. No, Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw is my pick as well, and that's the one I like as well. Thanks for getting us started off, Paul. Appreciate it so much. Michael Ronquillo coming in here saying, good evening, Keith, Trevor, Kenny, and Gobo Broncos, orange and blue hearts, mile high salute, 100 stars. Thank you so much, Michael Ronquillo, getting us kicked off this evening, man.
Everybody's
I appreciate
Friend, Michael Ronquillo.
Absolutely.
Love the support he shows us all, every one of our shows. Love you, Michael.
Love you, man. Love you. And Roy's coming in there saying, hey there, horseman. And the posse, if you don't know that posse, that is you. Appreciate you guys all joining in the conversation and being a part of what we do every single Tuesday and every single Friday, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Ernie May is go Broncos country only. Bo Nix for 6. Hello, Keith and friends, and 2025 and beyond, man. And getting excited about what's maybe coming around the corner, man. And man, you guys are blowing it up.
Ernie, don't get mad. I'm in a Giants room here, but I do have some blue and orange, but it's Mets. I hope that's okay. I'm at a friend's house tonight. I'm on the road. I hope that's okay, Ernie, but there's blue and orange in the room here. Just wanted you to know that it is Mets, but it's blue and orange. We got the right colors.
There you go, buddy. Doing our best, even on the road. Patrick Wiltsey, Rocket Man, Bruggs, Kenny, all with exclamation points. Appreciate it so much. Phil McLaughlin coming in
aloha,
here.
Patrick.
Yeah, aloha, Patrick. Always appreciate that, man. And I'll be honest, I got to get my next order in for that amazing Lion coffee. I'm running low. Next order's coming in soon. If you haven't done so, little plug, man. Lion coffee is the best coffee I've ever drank, and I've been doing it for 20 years plus, 30 years plus. Yeah, probably about 30 years. Okay.
Patrick, you got the white macadamia today over in New Jersey, Patrick, so thank you.
Phil McLaughlin coming in here, dropping stars. Phil, thank you, man. First, we have the Rock coming in here and rolling her right into Phil McLaughlin. Good evening, Keith, Rocket Man, and Kenny. If McMillan and Hampton are available at 20, who are you taking? Well, let's hit that, man, because
it's a great question.
It's a great question, but it's right up in the core of what we're talking about this evening, man. And so, Phil, I'm going to try to get back to that question, that 100-star question, man, because it is right in the thick of it. I went out there and I read an article on USA Today by Jacob Kamenkar. He basically what he did is he rolled 4 mock drafts all into one article and went through it piece by piece. The 4 people that were part of this, or the 4 media outlets that were part of this mock draft that he included, was Pro Football Focus, CBS Sports, the NFL Draft Network, and the much beloved 33rd team. I know all Broncos country loved the 33rd team. They've been wonderful to us. So without further ado, I want to just get reactions from the posse. I want to get reactions from my co-host because I didn't let them know about this. I want to spring some ideas on them and just Tell me, is this a dream scenario? Do you like this pick? If you could get them at 20 rather than where they were picking them here, would that be fantastic? So I'll go around the horn. I'm going to start with you, Trevor. I'm going to end the posse, but I'll start with Trevor. With the 30th pick, the 33rd team had Malachi Starks, safety, Georgia. Is Malachi Starks a dream scenario, even at number 20 for the Denver Broncos?
Not in my opinion, not right now. I think you have Brandon Jones and you have Hufanga under contract. I don't think that safety should be where the Broncos go in this draft. Now, if that safety falls later on in the draft, and maybe they take a look at it, but with the Hufanga signing, safety is no more. I think should be on the Broncos board in the first round. I think they have other positions that they could target over Starks. Starks is a really good player. I just don't think you need another safety in this backfield right now.
Very good. Kenny, go to you. Like I said, we'll do this quick kind of hitter. If anybody wants to jump in the comments, feel free as well.
Quick hitter and another quick hitter, real quick. Phil, stick around for a little while later in the show. You asked a question last week on third round sleepers for the Broncos. I wanted to do some research. I have those for you, Phil. I'll read those out when we're doing our second and third round picks. I'll get you those 3 guys I got for you last week. I agree with Trevor. He nailed it. You got Malachi Starks is just going to give you a lot of depth, but at 20, the Broncos do have other needs. So yes. I would pass on it because you have Jones and Hufanga. That's good enough for me. I don't want to block Starks comes in and he gets blocked by the 2 veterans, or you have a veteran that's getting paid all this money and sitting wasting because Starks outbeats them. So stick with what you got. Well, Starks is going to be possibly a really good player, but a hard pass for me as well.
All right. We'll start warming up then, hopefully a little bit. Kenny, I'll go to you, and a guy that maybe kind of shares your name. With the 28th pick, CBS Sports had a defensive tackle from Michigan, Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant at number 20. Would that be a dream scenario for the Denver Broncos?
I'm going to say no, similar at 20, because similar reasons on the safety. A harder pass. We're getting harder on the passes now, but you just re-signed DJ Jones. You got depth there. At 20, I'd rather pass on that position now at 20 with Kenneth Grant and wait to the middle rounds and maybe get a sleeper.
Very good. Over you, Trevor. I know that was a kind of a need before. Maybe we're talking about defensive line, building in the trenches. Kenneth Grant sitting there at 28th, according to CBS Sports. Would it be a dream scenario at 20?
I don't know about dream scenario, Keith, but I think he's damn near close. I like Kenneth Grant a lot, and I'm a big believer in building it in the trenches. And I know they just signed back DJ Jones, but let's not forget this team also struggled against really good running backs, really good running teams last year. So I think that you can add a guy like Kenneth Grant in the pipeline, a little bit of rotation there on the defensive line. I would love it. He had size, 6'3", 323 pounds, I believe, 344 pounds actually, Keith. And so I think he'd be a really good fit for the Broncos in this system. Kenneth Grant, maybe not dream, but damn near close.
All right. Getting harder, getting better. And this is what I kind of was getting at when I started thinking about this, and I want everyone to think about this as we continue through, just where the talent could end up falling. There is such, like they said, I heard one say, after 10, between 10 and 35, they're all the same. There's a lot of movement that could be happening on this draft board. So I'm going to go back to you, man. Trevor, with the 27th pick, Pro Football Focus has wide receiver from Missouri, Luther Burden, sitting there. Luther Burden at 20, not 28 or not 27th, like Pro Football Focus has. Would Luther Burden be a dream scenario for the Denver Broncos?
I don't think dream scenario. I think he's starting to kind of fall down boards a little bit. And other than McMillan possibly being available, I'm not wild about taking a wide receiver in the first round, just because I think there's some other needs right now. And I think in their wide receiver room, the Broncos are higher on those guys right now.
All right, very good. Same over to you, Kenny. Luther Burden, dream scenario?
It very well could be one of those dreams. You wake up and you remember the dream for a little bit, but then you forget it. He's good. He could arguably be the best receiver on this board. He was highly mocked early before the season ended and everything like that. He was mocked early, and then he slowed down a little bit. But if he's sitting there at 20, I would not be upset if the Broncos took him. So, like I said, it's that dream that really does nothing for you. It's like, oh, it was a decent dream, but not, oh my gosh, this is the best dream ever. It's a good dream. So we're getting better there, guys. We're getting better. It's no more nightmares or anything like that. We had a good dream. I'll take Burden at 20 if he's there for sure.
All right, and I'll kick it back over to you. I'm going to start trying to make it really, really tough. And then I know the comments are blowing up. We're going to get to some of these really, really quick. I promise. Hang on for me, please. 26th pick, and I'm not going to have every single pick, believe me. 26th pick, Pro Football Focus, tight end, Michigan, Colston Loveland. Kenny, is that a dream scenario now?
I'm going to put that in the dream scenario because a lot of people are saying 2 tight ends are going to be off the board before the Broncos pick. And it would be a dream scenario for me because you would go from the worst tight end room to now Evan Ingram, proven Pro Bowler, when healthy, and arguably Warren or Loveland, a 1-1A at tight end, go from the worst tight end in room in football to now on paper, easily a top 7, I would say on paper, maybe top 5. I'll go to even top 5 with those 2 guys. So yes, dream scenario for me. Yes.
Awesome. Again, hats off to USA Today's Jacob Kamenkar putting this article together. Pro Football Focus has Colston Loveland 26th in their mock draft. Would it be a dream scenario for the Denver Broncos at number 20, Trevor?
Ooh, we're getting closer. I really do like Colston Loveland. I think he brings something else to the table that Evan Ingram don't. Evan Ingram's a great pass catcher when healthy, but he's not a great blocker. I think Colston Loveland can be that inline blocking tight end, also pass catching threat downfield that you could want for the Denver Broncos. So he's right there on that fine line of being like a dream scenario because you need a tight end not only for now with Evan Ingram, but you need a tight end for the long term and a guy to develop.
Very good, man. I'm getting warmer. I'm getting better. I thought I was going to knock it out of the park with that one on for you, Trevor. I think I was closer with Kenneth Grant than I was with Colston. All right, see if I can warm it up one more time. 24th pick. This was done by the NFL Draft Network. They had Jahdae Barron, cornerback, Texas, and the 24th pick. Would that be a dream scenario to be able to pick up Jahdae Barron at the number 20 pick?
For me, I don't think it's a dream scenario. I think you have Riley Moss and Jaquan McMillan. I wouldn't mind if they added another corner, Keith, but I just don't know first round if that's well worth the asset unless there's somebody that really, falls to them. Barron, his draft stock's kind of up and down right now, but I think he's a really good player. I just don't know that you need another corner right now unless, is there something wrong with Riley Moss? Is there some concern that he can't stay on the field long term?
Yeah. And that's one of my concerns. It's one of the reasons I really felt that way about it. I don't think this is a place that you can necessarily hide and say that you don't need depth. So for me, I'll put my 2 cents in. I know I've been going back and forth, but it was an intriguing one as far as a possible dream scenario. Kenny, I want to get your thoughts though as well.
Insomnia. I can't sleep. This is not a dream scenario for me. I'm sorry. I got needs. I got offensive needs. We addressed free agency on the defensive side of the ball. Defense looks fine to me on paper. You get me Jahdae Barron at 20 and I'm having an all-nighter. I can't sleep.
Okay, very good. Went from dream to nightmare. Well, I'll see if I can make it any better. Two different media outlets had at the 22nd pick, NFL Draft Network and the 33rd team, Matthew Golden, wide receiver, Texas. Would that be a dream scenario to add Matthew Golden to this team at number 20? Kenny, I'm hitting you.
I only want the Broncos to take 2 wide receivers at the top. One of them was Luther Burden. I'm going to say no dream scenario for me. Simple answer. No dream scenario, Matthew Golden. I don't want to say I'm not a big fan. I'm just not a fan for the Broncos at 20. I don't think it's a fit.
Very good. Over Mr. Trevor. Did I intrigue you at all into a dream or another nightmare like Kenny was having?
I think we're closer to the nightmare side. No,
All
I like Matthew Golden. I like him as a player and as a prospect. I just don't know. There's a very select few wide receivers that I would think about taking at 20. And I don't think you want to block Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims and some of these other guys that I think this coaching staff has repeatedly, shown, I think, with their, not going out there and signing a veteran, big-time veteran wide receiver, that they believe in these guys and they want them to develop and give them the time to do so.
All right, I'm going to try to intrigue you one more time before I reveal the number 20 picks from Pro Football Focus, CBS Sports, NFL Draft Network, the 33rd team for the Denver Broncos. Right before that, the 21st pick, the 33rd team had Will Johnson, cornerback, Michigan. Again, I know I'm going back to that defensive side. Trevor, Will Johnson, one of the best. I had to put him out there as a possible dream scenario, putting him opposite PS2. Is that dream scenario enough for you at number 20?
See, yeah, that's the thing with Will Johnson is he's been mocked, and projected at times to go top 10. If he drops to 20, I think you at least got to think about it, because you have to address needs, Keith, in the draft, but you don't want to go so needy heavy in the draft that you miss out on the talent that's there. And so for me, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind Will Johnson. I think you at least got to consider if he drops that far.
Okay, very good. Well, Phil's not been impressed. He's lost a week's sleep with those picks. Loveland only. Phil, I'm so sorry, man. I was hoping this was going to be a little bit more intriguing, but maybe not. Maybe not even for the viewers. Kenny, Will Johnson, top cornerback, possibly. Anything
this might
there?
sound like a double standard, but yes, I'm having a pleasant dream if they give me Will Johnson. I think he's the top corner in this draft. And if you can have the top corner in football, in my opinion, PS2, with the top corner in this year's NFL draft, that's got to be a dream scenario for me. So yes, nice evening, nice night's sleep, pleasant dreams. And I did have a pleasant dream. If you get me Will Johnson, let's bring him on. I'll take it. And I know it sounded like a double standard because I said no to the other guy, but Will Johnson's an exception for me.
Okay, very good.
Travis Hunter, he'll be off the board, obviously. There's no dream scenario for him, but Will Johnson, the one corner I would take if I was the Broncos.
You got to take talent.
Yep.
All right. Let's I was thinking about a couple different ways to do this, but I'll just wrap this up as quick as I possibly can. There was only a few after number 20 that I really thought that are maybe a dream scenario, and I don't even know if any of them are plausible. So I'm just going to go ahead and get to where everybody had everyone going. I'll start with CBS Sports. CBS Sports, and you can tell me dream scenario or not. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State. I'm going to start with you, Trevor.
Not a dream scenario for me.
Kenny?
I'm going to agree with Mr. Rocket Man there. I'm going to say pass on Egbuka.
Okay, I'll go back to you, Kenny. 33rd team had running back, North Carolina, Omarion Hampton. Is that a dream scenario for the Denver Broncos?
Pretty close. It's good because he's my second ranked running back, but that means the other one is off the board, who I think can come down. So I'm like, it's that wake up and you want to get back to that dream, but you can't. So I'm gonna say yes. It is a dream scenario. Fell asleep, woke up, cannot get that dream back, but it was there at first. So I'll say yes in a way.
A no and a yes. I think that was going from Emeka Egbuka and then Omarion Hampton from Pearl. Thanks for joining in, Pearl. Trevor, your thoughts on Omarion Hampton?
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a dream scenario for me. I think the only running back I would consider taking in the first round right there at 20 would be Ashton Genty. But for me, I like some of the other running backs, Travion Henderson, Caleb Johnson, Dylan Sampson. I like a lot of those guys over Hampton, in my opinion.
Very good, man. Very good. Phil, I'm back here. CBS Sports. I already said that. NFL Draft Network. Tetarario. Or did I say that right?
Tetaroa.
Tetaroa. Thank you. I was trying to think of this and practice it before I got her on here. Tetaroa McMillan has the wide receiver from Arizona landing for the Denver Broncos. Trevor, is this a dream scenario? Because Phil's wondering, if Hampton was there, if McMillan is there at 20, who are you taking? That was one of the questions he had. Now we're going back to back. We just had Omarion Hampton from the 33rd team. Now we go over to Tet McMillan over there by the Draft Network. Which is it a dream scenario, and which one are you choosing?
Yeah, I would take McMillan if I'm picking out up in between McMillan and Hampton. I think McMillan's he's a very talented wide receiver, and that's one of the guys that I said earlier where I would at least consider taking a wide receiver there at 20. I think he's very talented. My biggest question is, why is he dropping so much? Right after the combine, he's been dropping off boards a little bit, down the board a little bit. It seems like in some of these mock drafts, why is he dropping so much? I'd be curious to kind of find that out if I'm the Broncos before I picked him. But yes, I think he would definitely be in consideration there. Dream scenario, I mean, pretty close. But I mean, I do like the talent there, and I would be very intrigued by if McMillan was there at 20.
Very good, man. Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick, your thoughts, man, on Tet McMillan?
Well, my first thoughts is I think Trevor's in that movie A Nightmare on Elm Street because he hasn't had a dream. He's been dreaming, but he's been having nightmares the whole segment. No, I'm kidding with you, Trevor, of course. But this is a pleasant dream for me. This is one of those happy dreams. If you can get me Tetairoa McMillan, and I think, in my opinion, Trevor could be maybe because he didn't compete at the combine, and some of these wide receivers ran and did well at the combine. If you don't show up at the combine, he drops. He's going to have his pro day. That's when we probably see a little more of him go up a little bit. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be there for the Broncos. I think somebody takes him before 20, but I do like him getting mocked to the Broncos. That would be definitely a dream scenario for me.
Michael Ronquillo earlier came in and said Mel Kiper, who also mocked McMillan to the Broncos at number 20, said that the Broncos wide receiver Cortland Sutton, Tet McMillan, Evan Ingram would give NFL defensive nightmares to cover. And there's watching a little bit of McMillan there, for me, he kind of reminds me of a T. Higgins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A great slot. I don't know if I'd ever push him to the X and push him to the outside. I think he has to develop into that, but as that slot wide receiver, oh my gosh. I this is getting pretty dreamy for me. Final dream, I guess, and I'll go back around. PFF has one Boise State running back, Ashton Jeanty, at number 20. Take it away, man. Is this a dream scenario?
Yeah, for me, I think it is. There's two guys that actually would be dream scenario for me, Keith, while we're on this topic.
Yeah.
Tyler Warren and Ashton Jeanty. Those are the two guys for me would be dream scenarios because I think you need a developmental tight end behind Ingram. And I think with Tyler Warren, he's got the capability to be a good blocker. I don't think he's quite there yet, but I think he's definitely got that ability to be there. And imagine this, Cortland Sutton, Evan Ingram, Tyler Warren, I mean, Marvin Mims out there, you drop the running back, you got playmakers everywhere. And then again, of course, with Ashton Jeanty, I love Ashton Jeanty. I don't think he's going to sniff, being around 20 where the Broncos pick. But, I think he's definitely the best running back in this class. He has so many different skill sets that I've mentioned many times before on this show. Those are the two guys for me are absolutely dream scenarios would be Ashton Jeanty and Tyler Warren.
Phil just talked about McMillan. I watched him play every game, and not only is he talented, he has a big football heart. Something that I think the Denver Broncos are really, really looking for. And Michael Ronquillo, I have watched his football career at wide receiver. McMillan at Arizona. Ernie May is getting excited about obviously Ashton Jeanty. And Kenny, are you excited? Is this sugar plums dancing through your head at this point?
Yes, and congratulations, Trevor. You survived Freddy Krueger, so you got by the dream scenarios. So it's a family show. I'm going to be nice. This is an adult dream. An adult dream. I mean, the hype is real about this guy. We got to hope as Bronco fans, Ernie loves Jeanty. Everybody loves Jeanty. We got to hope that there's a run on offensive linemen and they're taking that position more serious than running back. And they see a lot of these second round, third round running backs like Trevor was alluded to, Keith, your Hamptons, Hendersons, Judkins. Let's hope there's a run of those running backs in the second round and they see offensive line as more importance. And that helps the Broncos. There's no more talk of this Gray Zabel and stuff like that. Stop with that. We don't need a center. Wattenberg will be okay. We need a playmaker on either offense or defense. We need that before we need offensive line. So let's hope that run of offensive linemen go and a couple other positions in between. McMillan goes and Janty sits there, because if you get by a couple teams, I think Janty will be there. And the hype is real about this guy. And he's going to has a chance to be special. And those special running backs only come once every few years. And he's got a chance to be one.
And I would agree, man. This is, for me, a dream scenario. Everything that you've kind of put together this offseason, everything that you built around, it really leads to maybe getting Genty on this team. I've talked about it, maybe even moving up in order to make that happen. We didn't talk about it in this particular scenario, as we just kind of went over some of these big media outlets and their mock drafts and what they've kind of put out there. But as Michael Rompio says, running back Ashton Genty is my favorite running back in the NFL draft. And yeah, hands down, I think he's the favorite of many and most. I know that Hampton has been rising and there's been speak of maybe him overtaking Genty, but for me, it's Genty over Hampton all day long. No way that Genty moves past 10, in my opinion. And that I'm glad you added that little last part, Phil, in my opinion, because you just never know. You never know what's going to happen. It's crazy. I still go back to, I remember the Raiders having a fairly good draft pick and picking Clelin Ferrell, at the time, and just messing up an entire draft board for everybody who thought, mock draft. They didn't have that guy in the first round. And all of a sudden the Raiders take him. So you just never know what these teams are going to do. And it only takes one team going outside of the big, realm of idea and context of where people are going to be to really throw off an NFL draft. Yep. And everyone just starts jumping and going different positions and trades start happening. You never know what's going to happen. So you're right. I don't think that Genty makes it all the way down to 20.
Well, there's
that scenario might not play out, but that being said, I don't rule out anything.
But don't rule out moving up a couple spots. You're not going to move up 10 spots, but I'm saying a couple spots. And real quick, so we can move on.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to worry about Dallas. They picked up Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, 2 veteran running backs for their running back room. They need offensive line.
Yep.
You can get by the Raiders, who may go for Janty or may not. That's the big one. You can get by that. I think the only other team you have to watch out for is the Bengals, because I think everybody else has other needs. Bengals are one to watch, maybe the Cardinals as well, but that's where you move up maybe to 15, 16, move up a couple spots, get ahead of the Bengals, because that could be dangerous, not just because we don't get Janty. That could be dangerous for the whole AFC conference if they get Janty.
I'll just run through a few names. Tell me if they have any interest. 19th pick, both PFF and CBS had Jihad Campbell, linebacker. I think one of the most impressive athletes. I liked him a lot. Again, I don't know if that's necessarily a need now where we sit. So it's not like necessarily a dream scenario, but contradict me if you like Trevor or Kenny.
No, a month ago I would have said dream scenario, but now that you got our dream scenario free agent at linebacker, we don't need Campbell right now.
For me, I think that he's got to be on the table. I mean, I know they signed Drake Greenlaw, but I mean, how healthy is Drake Greenlaw going to be? It's a 1-year deal for a linebacker. That's why I say there's a couple different positions on this roster where you can use guys in the pipeline, because you don't know if these guys are going to be back next year. Evan Ingram, same thing, 1-year deal, essentially. You need a developmental tight end. So I think he's got to be in play if he's there. Just depend. I don't know about dream scenario, but I think he's in play at linebacker. Maybe it could signal if they take a guy like Jihad Campbell, it could signal a guy like maybe Drew Sanders. Maybe he's not where they want him to be at this point.
That's very true. some things you end up finding out through roster moves, don't you? And the NFL draft is one of the biggest ones, and all of a sudden you're bringing in maybe 7-8 guys into your team before you bring in your undrafted free agents. 14th pick was the lowest for this individual. NFL Draft Network had Tyler Warren at the 14th pick. I think a lot of people would like that, but that's as close as I could find between those 4 outlets. And just really quick, just to wrap it up, lowest I could find this individual going was 5th, because what a dream scenario I think Travis Hunter would be in order to add to this Denver Broncos team in so many different ways. But there you go, Tyler Warren at 14, Travis Hunter at the 5.
That Travis Hunter dream is like dreaming you won the mega millions.
Hey, that's
real quick, we don't want to miss these stars from Michael. Michael said Sean Payton likes big body wide receivers with 100 stars. Thank you, Michael.
And we've seen that throughout his New Orleans days. I mean, you even look at one of the guys that are sitting on our roster right now from last year in an A.T. Perry. He likes those big body type of wide receivers. So, when you start talking about Ted McMillan, T-Mac coming to the Denver Broncos, like I said, big body. I've heard Drake London. I like T. Higgins as a kind of a comp. It just what he reminds me of when he's going out there. And I think that could absolutely be one of those perfect fits for Sean Payton, at least.
Well,
go ahead, buddy.
No, I was just going to say really quickly. So this is my thing with Sean Payton and the wide receivers. I don't think Sean Payton necessarily likes to spend in free agency on wide receivers. In my opinion, from what he's done in the past with the Saints, he likes to draft and develop wide receivers. Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas. I mean, there's multiple wide receivers that he's drafted and developed. Brandon Cooks was a first-round pick, and I think Michael's right, and he's onto something. He does like those big body wide receivers. So if McMillan's on the board, I wouldn't put it past Sean Payton to be like, George, we got to take this guy, best available player here. I know we like our wide receivers, but McMillan and Cortland Sutton on the field at the same time together. Good luck trying to guard that if you're a defensive end, or not defensive end, cornerback, I should say.
Yeah, I think McMillan could be as good as Malik Neighbors. I'm in the Giants room, so I got to at least mention somebody on the Giants.
There you go.
I think he could be as good as Malik Neighbors. Good. For the Broncos as Neighbors was for the Giants. That's how good that's how high I am on him as well.
Yeah, rising up for me, obviously, I think already we're starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together as Sean Payton flipped it over at the end of the season, and starting to see some things that can actually really, really help out this Denver Broncos offense. When you start talking about the free agent signings, you add a tight end like Evan Ingram, and what he's going to be able to do for this team is going to really, really, really help out. We talked about dream scenarios, gentlemen. A real dream scenario for me, just really quick, is our amazing sponsor, Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets has been your headquarters for Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, and Estate Gold at wholesale prices for over 34 years. Once a nationwide company, now they're just in your backyard, northern Colorado, southern Wyoming, touring around, doing shows. They just did a gem and mineral show out in Loveland just a couple of weekends ago. But, if you can't get out, if you can't get to one of those amazing shows, don't worry. They're over there on Etsy. Just type in Morgan Trinkets Co. That's Morgan Trinkets Co. right over there on Etsy, one of the biggest marketplaces out there. And there you are, checking out all that Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, Estate Gold at wholesale prices, as well as silver. Sterling silver, 100% sterling silver. They've got that as well. All orders over $50 are shipped absolutely free. All major credit cards are accepted. And there's a gun show in Greeley this weekend, and that's where you're going to be able to find Morgan Trinkets. So if you're in the Greeley area, or you want to make that fantastic trip over to Greeley, check out the gun show. Check out Morgan Trinkets. Tell them that the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast sent you. We'd appreciate it. Pearl would appreciate it. And Pearl has been getting so many orders and out there and, plugging away and doing a great job. And we appreciate her. Thank you so much, Pearl. Go out there and see him out in Greeley. Kenny, I know that it's a little bit short on time. You still got about 20 minutes, but I know this second half of the show was really everything that you kind of put together. So, man, I'm going to back away from the microphone just a little bit. I'm going to let you roll for a little bit, buddy. How's that sound?
Appreciate it. I'd like to answer Phil's question. I don't know if it came. He's asking, guys, we need a punter.
Oh, yeah.
Miss Pearl actually asked the question last week. What are we going to do at punter?
By the way, Phil's question also comes with a 100 star, so it's a great one to answer here, buddy.
Great. So yes, guys, we need a punter. Where is he coming from? Also, what do you think about playing the Colts in Berlin this year? I'll answer the punter question, and then Keith and Trevor, you guys definitely disagree. If you agree to disagree with me, or if you want to take the Colts question, that'd be great. The playing in Berlin. I think with 3 6th-round picks, Phil, I think one of those, probably the last pick in this that you have in the 6th round, or if the Broncos move back into the 7th round, I think you're going to draft a punter. I saw 2 that I liked. I like the kid from Florida a little more, Pearl and Phil. Jeremy Cranshaw, 6'3", 199 out of Florida. Florida wasn't very good this year. He punted the ball quite a bit. Liked what I saw, some of the film I watched on him. My second choice would be the Alabama guy, 6'6", 243 pounds. It's a little big for a punter, in my opinion, but James Burnip is another name that could get drafted in this year's draft. Those are the 2 guys I think the Broncos should look at, and I wouldn't be disappointed if they took one of those 2 in the 6th round. And you guys want to take the Berlin question?
I got one just really quick. Kai Kroger was actually brought in for a workout, or he's looking to be brought in for a workout, I believe, by the Denver Broncos. South Carolina punter, just another name to be watching out there for. As far as I loved when they had NFL Europe. NFL Europe was a great way, I thought, to promote the sport, but I'm just not in love with flying our athletes halfway around the globe with all the time changes and expecting that game to be worth as much and on par as the one that's, Green Bay versus Minnesota this weekend. Just doesn't make sense to me. I really don't like the long travel. I like the development. I want to continue to increase this sport and bring it globally and worldwide. I just think there's better ways to do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and for me, as far as bringing, the Broncos needing a punter, I think they really thought they're going to bring back Riley Dixon, and that obviously didn't happen. So I think that they may go out and sign a veteran punter, and they may draft one too. They may do both. I mean, honestly wouldn't be surprised. I just don't know if they go completely with a rookie punter, because you know how much special teams means to Sean Payton. And also having Darren Rizzi being the special teams coordinator, I do think that they may bring in a veteran punter of some sort, and also maybe they draft somebody later in the draft, like Kenny said.
Just one other note on Kai Kroger. Kai Kroger was actually a quarterback before he was a punter, and he's actually thrown for over 200 yards as a punter. Great trick play type of guy and a great punter on top of it. So adds a different element to the whole specialist as a punter than most.
Yeah, when me, Keith, and I, Trevor, and chat, we were both wrong on the guys we had Sam Martin and Johnny Hecker picked, and I like Johnny Hecker because of his trick plays. With he went with Tennessee with Fossil. He followed Fossil, so his special teams coordinator.
Well, Kenny, you got about
Berlin
15...
real quick. Yeah,
I was going to say you got about. Go ahead, buddy.
No, if you want to answer the Berlin thing, and then we'll breeze through the Steels. We'll get done in the 15.
I answered Berlin. How about you, Trevor?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the Berlin thing. I mean, it's honestly, it's a lot of travel for the athletes, and I understand that. But for the fans, I think playing elsewhere, maybe it's kind of a breath of fresh air at times. But I know for the athletes and coaches, it might be a bit of a pain in the butt. So we shall see. I mean, we're not there. We're not those guys traveling and having to go to Berlin. So unless you're going to go as fans, but I mean, I don't mind. You got to shake it up here and there.
Gotcha. All right, so we're going to do. We say the drafts are won in the middle rounds. So they got rounds 2, rounds 3, and 4 for you guys tonight. And Posse, play along. I guess you just tell me if you like the guys I picked for Steals for the Broncos or you don't like. For the 3rd round, I have 3 because of Phil's question last week. So when we get to the 3rd round, there'll be 3. I have 2 for the 2nd round, 2 for the 4th round. So my first mid-round steal in round 2 is going to be that tight end, Elijah Arroyo. Steal to me because, in my opinion, he's a late 1st-round pick. As a Miami Hurricane fan, I saw what this guy can do. We saw what he did at the Senior Bowl. I think if he's anything in the second round and the Broncos don't go tight end in the first round, if he's sitting there at second round, stealing candy from a baby, Broncos having him and Ingram in the tight end room, I would take that all day. Keith, do you like it, or would you go steal, or you don't like my steal there?
Yeah, I'm been an Elijah Arroyo fan now for a while. I've been pounding the table a little bit for him. Would like to see his blocking develop, but if you had to choose between trying to get a guy to develop the ability to block or try to get the ability to be an elite pass catching tight end, I'll go with the blocking side of things. So I think Arroyo would be a good steal, as you've seen some of those other tight ends maybe pluck off the board and you're sitting there in the second round.
Yeah, and Phil say it. Sorry, Kenny, he won't make it. I would love it. That's why I say that, like, steal more than a sleeper. You'd be stealing it if you got him in the second round. Your thoughts, Trevor?
Yeah, I don't know if Arroyo's a first round pick. I think he's a day 2 pick for sure. I think he's got a lot of upside. Like Keith said, he needs to work on his blocking a little bit. I would be a little bit worried about upon trying to put him and Evan Ingram in the same room together, tight end room together, because I know that they're great pass catchers, but again, it's like that inline blocking tight end. I do think Sean Payton wants that eventually. So I like Arroyo. I just don't know that it's a steal at this point. But I like his ability to be a really good pass catcher for sure.
But I like it. My second one is a running back. As we said, the running back room's heavy. My second steal option in the second round is Keyshawn Junkins, the other Ohio State running back. I think he'd be Peyton's workhorse, like Mark Ingram, like he had with the Saints, and take the place of Javonte Williams. Do you want to go and get a running back that's going to be just a pass catcher early in the draft, or do you need that workhorse? If Janty's off the board and these other running backs are off the board, I think Junkins could be a steal in the second round. And like I said, replace Javonte Williams in that running back room. I'll go back to Trevor for his thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I don't know if Judkins even goes in the second round. Honestly, I think he might be early day 3, just because I think we're going to see a run of a lot of tight ends in front of him, Kenny, to be honest with you. So I like Judkins. I just don't know that I like him day 2. I'd rather have his teammate, Trevion Henderson, who I'm huge on, because I think he can do a little bit of everything. Again, just has to stay healthy.
Good points. Your thoughts, Keith?
I don't know if I could just copy paste what I just heard from Trevor, but I kind of feel like the same way. I mean, again, between the two, I kind of like what Trevion Henderson brings comparatively to what Judkins can bring, and I think we're starting to see this push for running backs, being pushed up because of maybe what we saw last season, and everyone's now maybe overvaluing running backs in some scenarios. So for me, that's where I'm going to sit.
Thank you, Michael. Michael's agreeing with me. I got one person with me saying steal. Let's go, Michael.
I gave you Arroyo. I loved Arroyo.
No, I'm talking about Judkins. I'm talking about
Okay.
All right, so round 3 we're going to move on to, and this was Keith's part of Phil's question last week. He wanted to know 3 sleepers in the third round in our opinions. So I got sleepers / steals. The first I got is also from my Miami Hurricanes, and that's Xavier Restrepo. A lot of talk about Cooper Kupp this past couple of weeks for the Broncos. Early Cooper Kupp, amazing. Some people wanted him. I would have not minded Cooper Kupp with the Broncos. I know what he can still probably do. I know Michael liked Cooper Kupp, some others, but I think we're all in agreement that if you can get a player that could possibly be an early days Cooper Kupp, it would be a steal for the Broncos. And a sleeper, in my opinion, also in Xavier Restrepo, and bring you that slot type receiver, early Cooper Kupp type of receiver there, Keith. And I'll go to you on your thoughts of Xavier Restrepo.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, especially if you've been able to pick up some of those other pieces and parts that you really like, and you're sitting there in round 3, adding this piece like Restrepo, I would definitely figure that that's not only a steal, but just a good allocation of resources in what you're doing. So I'm right on board with you, buddy. I like it.
Nice. Trevor.
Yeah, I like Xavier Restrepo. I just worry that if you get Xavier Restrepo, what does that mean for Marvin Mims? Because I think that those guys kind of compare a little bit to each other. So I like Restrepo. Again, if I'm going after wide receiver, I might go after somebody that's not a slot wide receiver, just so you're not blocking a guy like Marvin Mims, who just came off a really good season and still has a lot more improvement to make, but you don't want to block him, I don't think, necessarily either.
Okay.
My second sleeper steal for Phil and everybody. It's a running back. It's a running back none of us have really – I haven't heard his name mentioned anywhere, to be honest with you. And if you have, I haven't heard it. I apologize. I haven't heard this name mentioned, and that's DJ Giddens, Kansas State running back. Sleeper alert, everybody. Receiving threat. 2 years, Kansas State full-time running back, 17 touchdowns rushing, 4 receiving. He averaged 12 yards of reception with about little over 300 yards each year. I think he could be that Joker-type running back sleeper steal that the Broncos could be looking for if they go in other directions in the draft in the first 2 rounds. Trevor, your thoughts? DJ Giddens.
Sleeper in like what, day 2, day 3, Kenny?
3rd round, meaning sleeper, like you can, like not too many people are talking about him, could be a great fit. Sleeper meaning great fit for the Broncos and what they need under the top guys that we just mentioned, Henderson, Hampton, and of course Janty.
I think Giddens, I like him as a running back, and I do think that he could fit that Joker role. Kenny, I do agree with you on that one. I just think 3rd round might be a little bit rich for my blood, just because I do think there's still going to be some other running backs ahead of him still available. But I mean, you got to take a look at this guy, because I think he's very talented and a very good player to point out with all these other running backs.
Gotcha. And Keith?
Absolutely. I mean, right now, I think that's where we're at. I mean, you got to be looking for these opportunities. Not every single guy is going to be mocked in the 1st round. I'm telling you guys, there's been 3rd round, there's been 4th round, there's been 5th round talent that are key pieces for teams. You need to be looking. If they decide that Giddens is a guy that needs to be looked at, then absolutely. I mean, I need to take a little bit better look, Kenny. So, to be 100% honest, so I'm taking your word. He's a sleeper in my mind because I need to take a little bit better look. I've slept on him a little bit.
My last sleeper would be the steal of the century for the Broncos, and that's why I'm calling it a sleeper steal. Trevor alluded it. Keith alluded it. You may see a run of running backs in the 2nd round. You may see a run of – we saw it last year, cornerbacks going one after the other in the secondary. Corner, safety, corner. You see that type of run, this guy may slip into the 3rd round. You don't need a Jihad Campbell in the 1st round. Give me Demetrius Knight, who I am really high on, Phil. And this could be the steal sleeper of the century. Like I said, it might go heavy in the 3rd round. This guy's all over the field, can cover, played for South Carolina and elite talent on offenses in the SEC. So give me Demetrius Knight, Keith, in the 3rd round as my 3rd sleeper, because that was Phil's question last week. So we got an extra one in this round.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, just really quick, I just hope he would be there. Demetrius Knight, I think, is starting to shoot up at not only the post-combine, but they just had their pro day out there at South Carolina. Didn't too bad out there either. Saw him in front of the microphone. Intelligent guy that's passionate about football. I think his stock continues to rise. If we get him there in the 3rd round, man, I would be I'd be running to the podium, baby.
You might see a possible trade up here if he's sitting there in the early middle 3rd round, 10th, 11th, 12th pick in the 3rd round. You may see the Broncos move up for this guy. They did it with Troy Franklin in the 4th. You may see something here, because a good friend of mine, Kurt, says we need 3 or 4 rookies to be competitive, not 8 this year. 8's not, you're not going to get 8 guys in the starting lineup. Demetrius Knight can be that guy that can spell Greenlaw, can spell Singleton, and be that guy. So if you can get that, go for it in the 3rd round. Trevor.
Yeah, I love Demetrius Knight, Kenny. I've been along the way with you with Demetrius Knight as far as loving him. I think he's a great prospect, and I just worry if he's going to be there, because we've seen a lot of linebackers end up going back to their teams, their respective teams, end up re-signing. So the linebacker market, and we've seen it with the Broncos, they thank the Lord they were able to get Greenlaw. there just wasn't a lot of options there because of the cap going up and a lot of other players, linebackers re-signing with their team. So a team needing a linebacker, they may be aggressive and move up for him even sooner before the Broncos can get that chance. But I like Demetrius Knight a lot. Again, what does this mean for Drew Sanders? That would be my question, because you're still taking a linebacker probably third round or maybe even a little bit higher.
Yeah. Hope that was hope you liked that, Phil. You were here. Appreciate you listening to it. Hope you liked some of my picks there. Hopefully Broncos have a nice third round pick in store for all of us in Broncos country. I got 2 fourth rounders. I think I'll get them done, Keith, before the time runs out. I'll do it 2 for 1 here, because I think in the 4th round is where you start looking for depth. And if we mentioned Will Johnson earlier. We mentioned Malachi Starks, but I got 2 corners in the 4th round that I think could be depth for the Broncos behind Riley Moss, behind Surtain. God forbid something that was to happen. It's a long season, 17 games. If you lose somebody for a game or two, I think these 2 guys, Zy Alexander from LSU, Quincy Riley out of Louisville, can both play that depth position, because they played against great SEC wide receivers and great ACC wide receivers. We're seeing all that talent that's being mocked from those two conferences, and also can be depth in special teams. So I think that'll be 4th round is going to be a need for me. And I'm going to say corner, get some depth on defense behind. So I don't want to see no Levi Wallace's in there this year. Give me a young corner in the 4th with some upcoming, depth and, maybe some special teams help. So you guys' thoughts on that? I'll go to Keith first.
I'll be honest, I'm behind on my homework, especially when it comes to later round guys, but
No problem.
you saw what I was talking about in my dream scenarios. I kept talking about cornerbacks and adding to the defense. I'm not satisfied with where we're at in the cornerback solution. I don't think I don't want to rely on Riley Moss. I don't want to make sure that McMillan is the only guy out there. Jaquan McMillan is the only guy out there at the slot. I want to add some depth. So if we can do that, Zy Alexander, Quincy Riley, I'll do a little bit of homework. I'll tell you exactly what I think of those, but I think that needs to be on the table when you start getting into these rounds, like round 4, round 3. Yeah. Absolutely.
Remember Alexander played against the Texases and all those SEC teams. So keep an eye out for him. And LSU corners have done decent in the pros. Trevor, your thoughts, and then I know you got a couple of deep sleepers for us if you want to get those in real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to consider corner. Of course, you got to see where the talent's at. When do you get a tight end? Do you get are you going to be able to get a tight end on day 2? Who knows? But I think depth, yeah, for sure. I mean, I like those 2 players, that are there. I mean, another guy you can't forget is Chris Abrams-Drain, who was a 5th round pick last year by the Denver Broncos. I just don't know that they go corner quite that high. I think they do. In fact, Kenny, I do think they end up signing a veteran corner before the draft starts.
Okay. You had a couple deep sleepers. I'll pass it to you real quick, and then we'll end the segment and back to Keith.
Yeah, so I have a couple of them, guys. I have Terrence Ferguson, the tight end out of Oregon, probably more of a day 3 pick, but could get pushed up if some of these tight ends go a little bit earlier. Keith, I'll get your thoughts first. We'll start with you.
Yeah, obviously going back with a Bo Nix connection, that would be obviously kind of nice as well. Ferguson, like you said, not going to be near the top of the draft, but someone that you need to start to consider. Tight end is that position that you need to develop as it is. So if you're developing them both as a tight end as well as a pro, I think that's something you could do with Ferguson.
And real quick back, Terrence Ferguson's actually from Littleton, Colorado, so he'd be coming back home.
There you go, buddy. There you go.
Kenny, your thoughts, Terrence Ferguson?
I love it. And if the Broncos decided, hey, Loveland's off the board and 2nd round's not happening for us, we got Evan Ingram. Let's go get a guy in the middle rounds. This is my top guy in the middle rounds. They, 4th round or 4th or 5th round, I would take Terrence Ferguson. That'd be my top choice.
Absolutely. And then I have one more name on the defensive line. Just if the Broncos don't go defensive line, the first 2 picks, Tyleik Williams, a defensive tackle out of Ohio State, 6'3", 334. Kenny, I'll start with you. Could he be a possible steal?
Possible steal, absolutely. National champions, Ohio State Buckeyes. You can get me somebody on that defense. He didn't start on that defense because they didn't win a national championship because Tyreek Williams stunk on that defense. Tyreek Williams is legit. Big size, like you said, 334. Give me that run stopper that the Broncos can need. Add some depth on that defensive line. Steal.
Keith?
I've been looking for a guy that's 320 plus for this defensive line for a while, man. And I think that's the key piece that we need to have in this rotation. I want to get a guy that can sit in there and it's an immovable. I've been asking for him for it seems like a decade, but that's okay. If we can get him in this draft, absolutely. Go out there, great steal. Go ahead and bring in a different piece, a different component for this defensive line that we don't necessarily have there with a Malcolm Roach and a DJ Jones. DJ Jones is not that anchor that you'd like. He's not that zero technique. He's more like a one. You know what I mean? So it works a little bit better if you could bring in a guy like that. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And scenario right here, real quick, you probably would be getting your playmakers early on in the draft. You getting your running back, your tight end, maybe even a wide receiver. If you get a guy like Tyreek Williams, I think he's starting to fall a little bit, guys. So he might be available early day 3. You might see a scenario where the Denver Broncos look to try to add to that defensive line, like you just said, Keith, and maybe they get aggressive for a second year in a row. But this time you're trading for a defensive lineman to add depth and add size to that defensive line.
Love it.
Thank you, Keith, for letting me do this segment. Can I just read a couple comments?
Yeah.
Ernie Mays, we are Super Bowl bound. He's saying, you know what, Ernie? I'm putting everybody on the spot right now. If the Broncos go to the Super Bowl, we're going to have a watch party. I don't know how we're going to do it some way, somehow. We'll figure something out. If they go to the Super Bowl this year, watch party. Michael, guys, 1,000 stars. Michael, thank you so much. Great show tonight. Keith, Trevor, Kenny, and Go Bo Broncos. Everybody's friend, Michael Ronquillo. Great guy. We love you, Michael. And let Ted McMillan. Let's get that dream scenario to the Broncos. Let's do it. And he's saying Ferguson is steal, Trevor, and the other guy was a steal. And Ernie's saying, Kenny, thanks for blocking out the Giants stuff behind you.
Well,
only it's all you made. We love you, Ernie. I love you.
And there you go. We do love Ernie. We love everybody, man. But I got to do a little rewind, man, because, you know, we get 100 stars. We appreciate it, man. We get 200 stars. I'm usually kind of makes my hair start to tingle again, man. I'll tell you what, Michael Ronquillo dropping 1,000 stars. I might wake up with a full head of hair tomorrow, man. I'll tell you what, that is absolutely amazing. Appreciate you so much. I know what that means. I know what it takes. And for anybody to come in here and to support our show at that level, just know that that's truly, truly meaningful. And thank you, Michael. Amazing. Thank you. I guess with that, man, we're already past our time, man. And I just want to say thank you, everybody. Phil, I'm sorry I put you to sleep a little bit earlier with my dream scenarios. Like I said, for me, it just really showed as you start going through even all these big media outlets and all the mock drafts that they're putting together. There's risers, there's fallers, there's going to be players that are available that I don't think that you didn't think that were going to be available once the Broncos are on the clock. You're going to be surprised at times. And I think this was just a kind of an exercise for that. Kenny, Trevor, man, great sleepers, great mid-round picks, man. Trevor, man, you were lighting it up with the comments at the very end. Everyone was loving what you're bringing to the table as far as your sleepers were concerned. So thank you for that, man. For everyone that came in, I'm going to try to do this real quick from Paul to Michael to Ernie to Roy. My sister Leanna's in here. Jody, we didn't even get the fourth horseman in here. I'm sorry, Jody. Patrick, Phil. I know that we had a few other names. Adam and Kayla were in here. I appreciate you, Adam and Kayla. We had Clayton that was in here a little bit later. I remember seeing that name. And then some names over on YouTube. And I was trying to get to Captain came in here a little bit later as well. Thank you, Captain, for joining in here and being a part of the conversation. I don't know if I missed anybody else. If I did, know that you're loved, you're appreciated. This is the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. We go live every Tuesday, every Friday, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We're available on YouTube. We're available on Apple Podcasts. We're available on Spotify. You can hit me up on Twitter or the old X. Just look for me. I'm Keith Brugman. You can hit Trevor up over there as well. Trevor's always up there. He's talking football constantly, man. Hit him up on Twitter. Get him talking a little bit more, man. You'll love it.
I'll eventually get there on Twitter.
There you go. And we'll get Kenny over there as well.
Real quick, Keith, if I may. Tomorrow, K&K Sports Show, the other show I'm on, we're going to be doing a Major League Baseball preview. So if you guys like baseball, come check us out tomorrow. We'll have our annual baseball show tomorrow.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. Always like to support Kenny and the K&K Sports Show. They do amazing stuff over there as well. But again, Denver Bronco Roundup. Appreciate all that you coming in here, joining us this evening. We'll be back on Friday, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Kenny, Trevor, thanks again for an amazing show this evening. Posse, you guys were amazing. Thanks for all the star givers, but all the comments, all the shares, all the likes, all the thumbs up. Thanks for all that you do. Until next time, we're going to get out of here. Keep those boots in the stirrups, guns in the holsters, and the Denver Broncos in your heart. Till next episode, good night, everybody.